Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. With Dragons of Tarkir out, that means the new draft format has begun. Today I'm here to talk to you about the best commons and uncommons in each color for the specific purpose of drafting. I know sometimes you can look at a pack and have no idea what to take if the rare is crap. That's where this guide comes in. There are plenty of playable cards I won't mention due to time, but I will be covering the best 2 or 3 cards in each color and at common/uncommon rarity. Enjoy. First things first, since Dragons of Tarkir is a big set, the draft format completely deletes Khans of Tarkir from the equation. When you go to draft, you'll be getting 2 Dragons of Tarkir packs and 1 Fate Reforged pack. Going into this new draft format, there's something you need to know. The format is going to be a lot faster out of the gate. There are way more playable 2 and 3 drops than there were in Khans. I touched on this a little bit in previous videos, but every clan/color gets some early aggression and board stabilization. It's important to understand that if you're playing red-green and you draft a bunch of early attackers, there's probably a blue-white player out there doing the exact same thing. I have a feeling these games are going to go late and they're going to be really, really bloody. Stuff is going to die in combat a lot from the very start of the match, so keep that in mind. As we always do, we'll start with white cards at the common level. The best white common, without exception, is pacifism. We all know you should value removal highly, but pacifism is super cheap and it's a common. You don't find removal this efficient and this plentiful that often. There aren't too many commons that I would first pick over most other cards. Pacifism is one of them. It's great at any stage of the game. The next best white common, again by a long shot, is Misthoof Kieran. I don't think anyone would fight this pick. 3 mana for a flying vigilant 3/2 after you morph it is just insane. There are a lot of flyers in this set, true, but a lot of them can't survive 3 power in the air. I think what makes the Kieran so good is the cheap Megamorph cost. There are other playable white commons, but flying vigilance and the cheap cost just makes this the best white common creature by far. The best white uncommon in the set, at least to me, is Aven Sunstriker. There is an argument for another card that we'll talk about in a second, but it's so hard to ignore a flyer with double strike. Mama didn't raise no fool. You flip this thing and it becomes a 2/2 flyer with double strike. That's really strong, even at the cost. If they don't have a way to deal with it, you're looking at 4 damage a turn. That's a lot. Any creature with double strike and evasion should be feared, just saying. The only other white uncommon that even has a chance in my eyes is the stupidly overcosted Shieldhide Dragon. The only problem is that these games will probably go long and megamorphing a 4/4 flying lifelink lizard beast is a good idea. This dragon is a lot better than most of the cycle thanks to lifelink, so keep that in mind. Still not as good as the Sunstriker in my mind though. Blue commons. This was a bit tough, but I have to go with my instincts and say that Reduce in Stature is my favorite/best blue common. It's so hard to ignore removal in blue. I know it isn't technically removal, but come on. The creature becomes a 0/2. Sure, Bolster can get around that, but a lot of other mechanics can't. It can help prevent annoyances from Formidable. It can also make a strong creature into an exploit target. Force your opponent to kill it off. I love removal, and while this is only pseudo-removal, it's still a solid form of removal. Ojutai Interceptor is my next favorite blue common. This shouldn't surprise you considering I just picked the Kieran in white. 4 mana for a 4/2 flyer after Megamorph is serious value. Again, it has evasion. 4 power with evasion is very good. There are more flyers in this format than usual, but threatening this as an attacker each turn will force your opponent to change how they play. Maybe leave back something they'd rather not. It has enough board presence to do that, especially when Megamorphed. Can I just say there are some insane blue uncommons in this set. It's so hard to just pick a few. My favorite has to be Youthful Scholar though. It's impossible for me to avoid that card advantage. Sure, it's 4 mana to do what most cards can do at 2 mana, but you get card advantage. He replaces himself and gets you another card. Combine this with the exploit ability or just the natural aggression of the format and you'll be drawing 2 cards without even having to try. Affordable card removal in Limited is almost as important as removal. Youthful Scholar is great at affordable card advantage. The second blue uncommon I absolutely have to mention is Silumgar Sorcerer. It just does too much not to talk about. 2/1 flyer for 3 has flash, has exploit, and counters a creature spell. It's just too versatile to ignore. Worst case scenario, it sacrifices itself to counter a creature spell. Best case, you get a 2/1 flyer that can attack the very next turn and you stop their latest threat. If that isn't board position, I don't know what is. Black commons were pretty easy to figure out, at least for me. One of them rises to the top instantly. Flatten is a bonkers removal spell. We have a ton of 3 and 4 toughness creatures running around in the last few sets. Flatten is going to destroy most anything you want it to destroy. 4 mana at instant speed to remove almost anything? Sign me up. Even considering Megamorph, only a few of them get out of the range of this. Flatten is premium removal. My next favorite black common has to be Silumgar Butcher. There is a good argument for Vulturous Aven, but I really just want that removal. I know that it's 5 mana, but if you can exploit something weaker, you get a nice removal spell and you leave behind a 3/3 of your own, hopefully bigger than what you exploited to play it. It helps you establish board presence above morph creatures and it gives you removal. It's just versatile enough for me to like it a lot. Black uncommons are simply busted. I can't just pick 2. I mentioned each of them in previous videos and I'm going to mention them all again. Acid Spewer Dragon, Deathwind, Rakshasa Gravecaller, Ukud Cobra, and Ultimate Price. The dragon gives Death Touch, which in turn, much like the Shield High Dragon, makes it a lot better than most of the cycle. Deathwind is just stupidly affordable removal. It's versatile in its cost and good at literally any point in the game. I would never be upset to have this in my hand, never. Rakshasa Gravecaller gives you more board position than almost any other card in this set, including rares. Exploit something small and you get 2 2/2s and a 3/6 for 5 mana. How are you all not freaking out about this card? This is a rare quality card in limited formats. Absolute bomb in the uncommon slot. Ukud Cobra is stupid. Why is it stupid? It has Death Touch. What makes it better than every other Death Touch creature we've ever seen? Its butt is huge. 5 toughness makes it a wall of death and decay. Anything on the ground just kneels before it. Your opponent has to either play something outrageously gigantic to trade with it, or they have to basically sacrifice a creature and a combat trick. You're either getting a 2-for-1, trading up, or absorbing a kill spell. Either way, your opponent is not getting rid of this stupid snake profitably. I hate this card. Ultimate Price is here because the versatility on this card is criminal. We're not in a multicolored set anymore. There are monocolored creatures running around all over the place. There's no way this condition won't be met every single game. It's first pickable easily. Twin Bolt is the best red common. It should be clear why. I like the ability to move 1 damage, but honestly, I just want to shock a morph creature a lot of the time, and this lets me do that. I'll take it. Beyond this card, though, there aren't a whole lot of standout red cards. There are plenty of playables, but nothing that really jumps out at me besides, I guess, Tail Slash. It is conditional, but I like that the opponent doesn't get to fight back. That is satisfying. Besides those 2, I won't be looking at early picking any red commons in the set. Much like in black, red is loaded with pretty good uncommons. It would be silly to start anywhere else besides Roast. 2 mana for 5 ground damage. No, I don't care that it doesn't hit flyers. No, I don't care that it's sorcery speed. None of that matters to me when you can draw this late game and it's still useful. 5 damage goes a long way. Removal is king. With the removal disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to forego talking about any other red uncommons besides this next one. That's because this card was undervalued way too much and I told you not to undervalue it. Calcesma Behemoth is disgusting. An absolute monster. 3 mana for a 5/5 is just unfair. The drawback isn't even that big of a deal, especially considering games are probably going to go late and be pretty bloody. Even if you play this on turn 3, turn 4 you can still activate it and play a 2-drop. There are a million of those in the set, so you aren't too far behind. Look, nothing can fight this card at the same mana cost. You're forcing your opponent into a corner. Sure, you have to pay 2 to use it, but the burden is on them to deal with an early 5/5. That is going to suck. Put the Behemoth in every draft deck you make. This is way too good to ignore, just trust me. Green commons are weird. There are a ton of playable cards, but not a lot of stars stand out. There is one green common that blows me away, but for the sake of this guide, I'll tell you my 2 favorite, although it's super close. The first is Epic Confrontation. Conditional removal again, but it's pretty good conditional removal and it's cheap. Sure, it's sorcery speed, but given that extra buff to toughness is going to put that creature out of range in a lot of fights. I don't think it's as good as some of the other removal we've seen, but it's going to do its job real well. I mean, come on, it's green. You're not going to get clear-cut removal you get in other colors. Just enjoy this, okay? Jeez. The only other green common I care to mention is Airy Bow Masters. This is mainly due to stories I've been hearing from all of you. The card either won you games, hosed your opponents, or just became a massive wall that no one could ever get through. Now that I look at it, that makes perfect sense. Turn this face up and you get a 4/5 with reach. Not a whole lot can fight that, especially the uncommon dragon cycle. They all become 4/4s. This kills them. That's awesome. Definitely gonna fly under the radar. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Salt Road Quartermasters is a boss and the only green uncommon I care about. I'm sure there are other playables, but honestly I couldn't give two poos. The card's bonkers. In addition to the +1/+1 counter moving engine, Bolster gives it even more fuel to work with. 3 mana for a 3/3 is okay, but if you get to untap with it, you're looking at a card that in itself is a combat trick. Think about that. Your opponent has to worry all the time about a random creature of yours getting +1/+1 in the middle of combat. How is that not the most annoying thing in the world? Play this card, it's hysterical. Your opponent will hate you beyond reason, just enjoy. We finally made it to the end. Wow, this video is going to be long. Hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say and maybe learned a thing or two. Take this info with you when you draft. There are going to be packs where you get Clone Legion as your rare. You don't want Clone Legion. You need to know what to take besides Clone Legion. Just use my suggestions. I guarantee they help you. If you have any questions, leave them below and we'll talk about it. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Wow.